October 1187. The dust of war had finally settled. For nearly 90 years, Jerusalem had been under Crusader control. Since 1099, when rivers of blood flowed through its streets, when men, women, and children were slaughtered without mercy, the holy city had cried in silence. But now, a different army stood outside its gates. Not an army of revenge, not an army of destruction, but an army led by a man history would remember as Salahuddin Ayyubi. Just months earlier, on July 4th, 1187, at the scorching plains of Battle of Hattin, Salahuddin crushed the Crusader forces. The powerful Crusader army was broken. The true cross was captured. Their king, Guy of Lusignan, was taken prisoner. The road to Jerusalem was open. City after city surrendered. And now, only one prize remained. Jerusalem. Inside the city, fear and desperation. Inside Jerusalem, fear gripped the population. The memory of 1099 haunted them. They knew what had happened when the Crusaders had entered the city decades earlier. A massacre without mercy. Would Salahuddin now seek revenge? Would he pay blood with blood? Leading the city's defense was Balian of Ibelin. With limited soldiers and terrified civilians, Balian knew they could not survive a long siege. Yet surrender was humiliating. He sent a message to Salahuddin. If you do not grant us honorable terms, we will destroy the city, kill our own families, burn the holy sites, including Al-Aqsa, and fight until the last man. It was a desperate threat. Salahuddin listened calmly. He could have stormed the city. He had the power. He had the numbers. But he chose negotiation. After days of discussion, terms were agreed. The Christians could leave safely. Each man would pay a ransom. Women and children would pay less. The poor would be freed if ransom was paid collectively. There would be no massacre, no bloodbath, no revenge. On October 2nd, 1187, exactly 88 years after the Crusaders had taken Jerusalem, the gates opened. The gates of Jerusalem slowly creaked open. Salahuddin did not enter shouting. He did not raise his sword in triumph. There was no wild celebration. He entered with humility, his head bowed, his army disciplined. No looting, no killing, no chaos. The same streets that once ran red with Muslim blood now witnessed something extraordinary. Mercy. Witnesses recorded that many Christian families expected slaughter. Instead, they were escorted safely out. Salahuddin personally ordered that the elderly and the poor be released, even if they could not pay ransom. When his brother, Al-Adil saw the suffering of captives, he asked Salahuddin for 1,000 Christian slaves as a gift, then freed them all. Compassion had replaced vengeance. For decades, the sacred mosque of Al-Aqsa Mosque had been used as a Crusader headquarters. The Dome of the Rock had been altered, Islamic symbols removed, crosses raised. Now, Salahuddin ordered the purification of the Haram. Scholars, imams, and ordinary citizens washed the floors with rose water. The pulpit, built years earlier by Nur ad-Din in preparation for this very day, was finally installed. For the first time in nearly 90 years, the adhan echoed again over Jerusalem. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Many wept, not from revenge, but from relief. When the Crusaders had entered Jerusalem in 1099, chroniclers wrote that blood reached the knees of horses. Muslims were slaughtered inside mosques. Jews were burned inside synagogues. But in 1187, when Salahuddin entered, not a single mass killing took place. Even Christian chroniclers admitted his nobility. The Archbishop of Tyre wrote of his generosity. Western historians later described him as a model of chivalry. Even his enemy, Richard the Lionheart,
October 10,
would come to
1186,
respect him deeply
stonemasons
during the
repaired the
Third
damaged walls.
Crusade.
Works
One of the most touching scenes occurred when a Christian woman approached Salahuddin in tears. Her child had been separated during the chaos. She begged for help. Salahuddin immediately ordered soldiers to search. The child was found and returned to her arms. Even prisoners were treated with dignity. The defeated king guy was not humiliated. He was given water, a symbol of mercy. But when Reynold of Chatillon, known for attacking Muslim caravans and breaking treaties, stood before Salahuddin, the Sultan personally executed him. Justice, not revenge. When Salahuddin finally stood inside Jerusalem, historians describe a quiet moment. No cheers, no parade, just reflection. For years, this had been his dream. For decades, the Muslim world had prayed for this, and now it was reality. He entered the Dome of the Rock. He prayed 2 rak'ah, and he wept, because victory for him was not about pride. It was about responsibility. News of Jerusalem's fall shocked Europe. Church bells rang in mourning. The Pope called for a new crusade. Thus began the Third Crusade. But even in war, Salahuddin's character stood out. When Richard the Lionheart fell ill, Salahuddin sent him fruit and snow to cool his drink. When Richard's horse was killed, Salahuddin sent him 2 replacements. Enemies on the battlefield, respected rivals in honor. The victory of Jerusalem was not just military. It was moral. It redefined leadership. It showed that power does not require cruelty. It proved that faith does not demand hatred. Salahuddin could have written his name in blood. Instead, he wrote it in mercy. Years later, when Salahuddin himself lay dying in Damascus, he possessed almost nothing, despite ruling vast lands. Egypt, Syria, parts of Iraq. He left behind barely enough money for his funeral. The man who conquered Jerusalem did not conquer it for wealth. He conquered it for faith, for dignity, for justice. And perhaps that is why, centuries later, both East and West remember him, not merely as a conqueror, but as a symbol of honor. The gates of Jerusalem opened, not to screams, not to slaughter, but to mercy. And in that moment, history changed forever.